Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Kenzie's Crimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a North Side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people have done to me.
C says Heaven's Gate awaiting.
I'm not guilty.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Time for Kenzie's Crimes, where she does a deep dive into a local murder, mystery, crime, drama. Everything about it is usually in our listening area. And is that the case today as well, Kenzie?
So here's the deal. We're obviously kind of going into October, spooky season. So throughout October, starting today, I am going to be doing the most haunted places and the crime behind them. Kind of a spooktacular event throughout October. That's what I'm focused on. And
I like it.
I have to say, because I was Googling, haunted places, figuring that out last night, and I was blown away by this story. And I actually texted Brian and Case last night, and I go, my story tomorrow, I swear, is pure evil.
Yeah, it wasn't a wonderful text.
No. It wasn't. And so let's get into it. So John Crenshaw was born November 19th, 1797. He married his wife, Francine Taylor, on October 2nd, 1817 in Gallatin County in Illinois. They had at least 10 known children. 3 sons and 7 daughters. That's a lot.
Wow.
And they built a large antebellum-style home for their family in 1838.
But it was like one big room back then. All 10 people, 10 kids and the parents.
That was actually pre-open concept home. So you think, well, that's when there's like a million rooms in every house. Like, good Lord, it was like a maze.
No islands in the kitchen?
No.
Unbelievable.
It's like another door instead of an island.
Houses used to suck when you think about it.
Yeah.
Houses are like old houses.
No, they sucked until like 10 years ago.
They're very charm-filled. It's cute, but it's a lot of doors.
A lot of doors.
They always have a dinner room, if you will, the dining room.
Yeah, we have a dining room.
Do you use it?
Like, just when guests come over. Like, I'm not cleaning that whole damn thing every time.
You should make that into like a racquetball court or something.
Actually, my neighbors turned theirs into a bar, and it's awesome.
I bet.
It's so cool.
No one's sitting down for dinner together. No one's going to do that.
Yes, they do. We sit down for dinner. We just do it in the kitchen. The kitchen's already dirty. I'm not cleaning 2 rooms.
Right.
Too many rooms, a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they built this large house, and what would appear to, the normal eye as a stunning family home was actually built for an incredibly disturbing purpose. So this was at a time when slavery was not legal in all states, right? Obviously, primarily the North had recently been freed. Illinois was one of those free states. Now, due to there being free and not free states, this was also the time of the Underground Railroad, okay? So in case you are unaware, the Underground Railroad was used by freedom seekers from slavery in the United States and was generally an organized network of secret routes and safe houses to escape to freedom. Many people do know about the Underground Railroad, but some may not know about the Reverse Underground Railroad. It was used to transport escaped slaves back and kidnap free black people and sell them into slavery.
Well, that's the theme of the movie 12 Years a Slave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, once you're claiming someone is a slave, it's not like they had a right to lawyers, representation. So it was really just this horrible, horrible loophole, which is insane. John Crenshaw's home was part of that Reverse Underground Railroad. And that's exactly what his home was designed for.
Ew, yuck.
Now, I'm going to pause there because this huge antebellum asylum home actually had over 3 levels. And when I tell you what one of those levels completely was and what was up there, it's actually bone-chilling.
Okay, well, that's coming back in 3 minutes. The conclusion to Kenzie's Crimes with Brian and Kenzie on Q101.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101 with the conclusion of Kenzie's Crimes, of the theme of October now being haunted places. Is that what you're saying, Kenzie, for all of October?
Yes, and the crimes behind those. I suppose you always have to say alleged hauntings because, everyone has an opinion on that. But this place is allegedly haunted, and rightfully so, as we get into this story. Quick recap. John Crenshaw married his wife, Francine Taylor, in Gallatin County in Illinois. They built this huge antebellum-style house, but it was completely built built to be part of the reverse Underground Railroad, which is a super evil concept of trapping slaves that were on their way to freedom, as well as kidnapping people who were actually free and selling them into slavery.
Horrific.
So John Crenshaw became a remarkably wealthy man. Actually, at one point, his taxes amounted to 1/7 of the revenue of the entire state of Illinois.
Jeez.
He also owned more than 700 slaves, which doesn't seem possible because he lived in the free state of Illinois, right? John Crenshaw himself was a slaveholder and a slave trader, and a singular anomaly in the free state of Illinois. His exemption from the law forbidding slavery derived from his operation of the nearby state-owned salt works. Basically, the reason he gave is no free man could be found to perform such labor as salt mining because it was so difficult, no one was willing to do it. So John Crenshaw was provided with an exemption to the slavery ban. He was the only Illinois resident to hold that exemption, the one person allowed to own slaves in the entire state.
Can you imagine going to the government to negotiate that exemption? Yeah. Here's why I need slaves. God, what an evil, evil guy.
The confidence you must have, though.
Yeah. Did he walk in?
Obviously. It's like, what?
You can't have low self-confidence and ask for slavery.
He went in there thinking that no one's going to judge him either. I mean, imagine someone coming in there, he's fighting the ticket where he left his horse not leased up to a thing, and he goes, okay, bring that guy in. Who's coming in next? The guy that's going to negotiate for having 700 slaves on his property.
It's unbelievable.
It sounds like an episode of Deadwood.
God. Well, it's disgusting. So on the third floor of John Crenshaw's home were 12 rooms, or I guess we would call them cells, running along a 50-foot long hallway. Now, in the 1930s, there were accounts of iron rings or staples and sets of chains on the floor. John Crenshaw's infamous involvement with the, quote, this is what they called it, slave napping when they kidnapped free people, began with the kidnapping of Maria Adams and her children. She had been a paid servant, and they were sold to a father-son team and then sold as slaves in Texas. On top of that, he allegedly tortured who he captured and made his children watch. The torture was so vicious that the rumors of ghosts in the attic became in the 1800s. But unbeknownst to the locals, because they would not think that he was kidnapping free people, that would be disgusting to them, the strange moans that they were hearing were actually the alive slaves.
Oh, God.
So people thought this home was haunted, and it was people.
Did people around the city, I don't know if you know this or not, I'm not throwing a random question, but did they know what was going on in the house? I mean, obviously they didn't know, they thought those were ghosts.
He has dodged a lot of local records because he changed his name, a lot easier to do back then, with a lot of the slave trading stuff. He went under an alias.
What is he, a radio guy?
Right?
Gosh.
I know, he went by Lightning Rod Lewis. So he had an alias with a lot of these involvements, so he dodged kind of the history books under that name, right? He was also really heavily involved in the community. So people were like, no, not him.
No, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Misunderstood.
That's legal. Like, not okay.
He bought uniforms for the high school team. He's a good guy.
Very much so that was going on. So he sold his home in 1864. However, the families who inherited that property kept the heinous tradition alive. They kept that home part of the reverse Underground Railroad.
God.
John Crenshaw passed away December 4th, 1871. He is buried to this day in Hickory Hill Cemetery, not far from the Crenshaw House, which has now gained the name Old Slave House. The house reopened as a tourist attraction in the 1920s. However, visitors started to hear strange noises all through the house, especially the attic. Screams, moans, and crying have all been reported on multiple occasions. Even police visits have been made to the house because people were concerned someone was inside.
Wow.
With nothing to be found. It is also said that blood stains appear and disappear on the walls in the attic. Maintenance would go to clean up a complaint and they'd be gone. It still stands to this day, but has been closed to the public since 1996.
Crimes.
Milwaukee police found body parts in a north side apartment.
Not because I was angry with them, not because I hated them, but because I wanted to keep them with me.
Believe me, if I started murdering people, there'd be none of you left.
This is evil, what those people have done to me.
See, says Heaven's Gate away team.
I'm not guilty.
Q101. Q101.
All right, another edition of Kenzie's Crimes. If you missed any part of that, it came in at the end. It will be up on the Brian and Kenzie podcast as usual. Check out the whole feed there. Coming up here in just about 6 minutes is a chance for you to get floor seats for Soldier Field for Oasis. 6 minutes away, Brian and Kenzie, Q101.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.